You do not belong in first class." The sentence lands like a slap. For a half-second, the entire cabin freezes. The low mechanical hum of the aircraft hesitates, as if even the plane itself is unsure whether to keep breathing. A champagne flute hangs mid-air in a man's hand, 2 rows back. Somewhere near the galley, a luggage bin creaks, then goes still. Rachel Monroe does not move. She sits in seat 1F, window side, shoulders resting against cream leather that still holds the warmth of the previous passenger. Her hands lie open on her thighs, relaxed, controlled. Her breathing is slow, measured, almost meditative. If there is anger, it has not yet been invited to the surface. Standing in the aisle is a woman in a Navy Horizon Air uniform, mid-40s, posture rigid with authority, borrowed rather than earned. Her name tag reads Linda Parker. Her lips are pressed thin, eyes sharp, already convinced she is right. "You heard me," Linda says, louder now, projecting for the benefit of the watching cabin. "This seat isn't for you." Rachel lifts her eyes, not quickly, slowly, deliberately, like someone choosing when to enter a room rather than being dragged into it. Her gaze meets Linda's, steady and unblinking. "I paid for this seat," Rachel says. Her voice is calm, low, slightly husky from exhaustion. No tremor, no apology. Seat 1F. Linda lets out a short laugh. It is not humor, it is dismissal. First-class passengers don't get confused about where they belong. A few heads turn. Some faces look away immediately, uncomfortable. Others lean in, curiosity sharpening their features. The unspoken question moves through the cabin like a current. Who is she? Why is she still sitting? Rachel feels the weight of it, the assessment, the quiet math people do when they think no one notices. Hoodie, sneakers, no designer bag, brown skin, tired eyes. She has lived with that math her entire life. She shifts slightly in her seat, the soft leather whispering under her movement. Outside the window, the Chicago runway glistens with rain, runway lights smearing into long neon streaks against the glass. The storm has not lifted. It has only moved closer. "I'm not confused," Rachel says. "You are." Linda's jaw tightens. She glances at the boarding pass, still glowing on Rachel's phone, then pointedly looks away, as if refusing to see it will make it stop existing. Behind Linda, a man in an expensive charcoal suit clears his throat loudly. Derek Lawson, early 40s, broad smile. The kind of confidence that comes from never being told no by anyone who mattered. He lounges in seat 1E, aisle side, one arm draped possessively over the armrest. "Is this going to take long?" Derek says, his voice smooth, practiced, just loud enough to carry. "Some of us have places to be." Rachel does not look at him. She keeps her eyes on Linda. Linda straightens, emboldened by the presence behind her. "Ma'am, you're delaying boarding. I need you to gather your things and move to your assigned seat." Rachel tilts her head slightly. "This is my assigned seat." Linda exhales sharply, a theatrical sigh meant to signal patience wearing thin. "Economy boards after first class. You'll need to wait your turn." A murmur ripples through the cabin. Someone shifts in their seat. Someone else pulls out a phone, screen dark but ready. Rachel feels the familiar heat rise in her chest. Not rage. Something colder, heavier. The accumulation of a lifetime of moments just like this. Conference rooms where she was mistaken for the assistant. Hotels where her credit card was scrutinized twice. Boardrooms where silence followed her name until someone else confirmed it was worth listening to. She thinks of the documents she signed that morning. Ink barely dry. She thinks of the balance sheets, the debt, the jobs saved. The airline rescued from the edge of collapse by a quiet acquisition no one here knows about yet. She thinks of how tired she is. "I'm not moving," Rachel says. The words are soft. They land hard. Linda's eyes widen, not with fear, but with offense. "Excuse me?" "I said I'm not moving." Derek chuckles under his breath. "Unbelievable," he mutters, shaking his head. "They'll let anyone try anything these days." Rachel turns to him then. Just her eyes. Nothing else. Derek meets her gaze and falters, just for a fraction of a second. There is something there he did not expect. Not defiance, not desperation. Something steadier, colder, as if she is watching him rather than the other way around. "Sir," Rachel says evenly, "this doesn't involve you." Derek's smile tightens. "Everything in first class involves me." Linda steps closer, invading Rachel's space. Her perfume is sharp, floral, cloying. "This is your last warning," she says. "You can cooperate, or I can have you removed." Removed. The word hangs in the air, heavy and loaded. Rachel hears a sharp intake of breath somewhere behind her. She feels the eyes on her back now, the cabin leaning forward as one. She looks past Linda, down the aisle, at the rows of faces, at the assumptions forming in real time. She knows how this looks. A woman alone, casual clothes, refusing instructions, causing a scene. She also knows how power actually works. Rachel exhales slowly through her nose. She can end this now. She could stand, pull out her phone, make one call. She could say her name and watch the color drain from Linda's face. She could watch Derek's confidence collapse into confusion, then fear. But she doesn't. Not yet. "Before you do that," Rachel says quietly, "you should check the manifest." Linda laughs again, sharper this time. "I don't need to check anything. I know who belongs here." There it is. Bare, unfiltered. Rachel nods once, as if confirming something to herself. She smooths the front of her hoodie, a small, grounding gesture. Her fingers are steady. "Okay," she says. Linda blinks. "Okay." "I'll move." The reaction is immediate. Derek grins, victory flashing across his face. Linda straightens, satisfied, already turning away. Rachel stands, slowly. The leather sighs as she rises. She lifts her small carry-on from the overhead bin, without help, the weight familiar, grounding. She steps into the aisle, the narrow space pressing in around her. As she passes Derek, he leans back slightly, lowering his voice. Smart choice, he says. Know your place too. Rachel pauses. Just long enough. She looks at him then. Really looks. She memorizes the line of his jaw, the expensive watch on his wrist, the smug certainty in his eyes. You should enjoy this seat, she says softly. It won't last. Derek laughs, dismissive. Whatever you say. Rachel turns and walks down the aisle. The curtain between first class and economy parts, then falls closed behind her, with a soft, final whisper. The sound echoes longer than it should. She does not look back. What no one on that plane knows, what no one can see yet, is that this moment has already passed the point of no return. That a line has been crossed that cannot be uncrossed. That the woman walking toward seat 24B is not retreating. She is choosing the timing of the reckoning, and it is coming. The lounge smells like burnt espresso and money that has never had to apologize. Rain drums against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Chicago O'Hare, blurring the runway lights into long streaks of blue and orange, like something melting under pressure. Inside the Horizon Air Diamond Lounge, leather chairs sit in neat rows, untouched in places, claimed in others by bodies that lean back as if the space itself owes them comfort. Rachel Monroe stands just inside the entrance, her boarding pass glowing on her phone, screen reflected faintly in the polished marble floor. She has not slept in 36 hours. Her eyes burn. Her shoulders ache. The hoodie she pulled on at dawn now feels heavier, as if it has absorbed the weight of the day. She approaches the counter. Behind it sits Kyle Anderson, late 20s, hair perfectly parted, jawline sharp, eyes locked on his personal phone. He laughs quietly at something on the screen, thumb scrolling, entirely unaware of the woman standing 3 feet in front of him. "Excuse me," Rachel says. Her voice is hoarse, controlled, threaded with fatigue. Not weak, just tired. Kyle doesn't look up. I just wanted to confirm whether Flight 402 is still delayed. Nothing. Rachel waits. 1 second, 2, 3. She can hear the low murmur of conversations behind her. A fork taps against a plate. Ice clinks in a glass. "Kyle," she says, reading the name tag deliberately now. That gets his attention. He looks up slowly, irritation already forming before his eyes fully register her face. His gaze flicks down. Hoodie. Sneakers. No visible status symbols. No leather briefcase. No watch worth noticing. His smile disappears. "The departure board is right there," he says, pointing vaguely over her shoulder without turning his head. "And this lounge is for first class and diamond members only." Rachel blinks once. Not in surprise. In recalibration. "I'm in first class," she says. "Seat 1F. Kyle lets out a short, incredulous breath through his nose. He extends his hand, palm up, fingers snapping once, impatient. Boarding pass. Rachel hands him her phone. He takes it faster than necessary. His thumb swipes aggressively, as if trying to prove something by force. He stares at the QR code, then the name, then back at her. Rachel Monroe. It means nothing to him. Of course it does. The acquisition papers were signed 48 hours ago. Press release embargoed. Systems not yet updated. To him, she is just another name attached to an inconvenience. Huh, Kyle mutters. Seat 1F. Must be some kind of upgrade glitch. He hands the phone back, already disengaging. Don't get used to it. Rachel closes her fingers around her phone. Her grip tightens for a fraction of a second, then relaxes. Flight's delayed 20 minutes, Kyle continues. You can sit over there. He gestures toward a dim corner near the restrooms, far from the buffet, far from the men in tailored suits, sipping scotch like it's part of their personality. Try not to disturb the other guests. There is no malice in his tone, just certainty. The confidence of someone who believes the world has already been sorted into categories and that he is merely enforcing the natural order. Thank you, Kyle, Rachel says. She does not go to the corner. She walks straight to the center of the lounge and takes a seat in one of the plush armchairs facing the windows. The chair is warm. Someone important sat here recently. She crosses one leg over the other and exhales slowly. Across from her, a man is on the phone, voice loud enough to dominate the room. Derek Lawson. He doesn't notice her at first. He's too busy being heard. I don't care what the zoning board says, he snaps into his phone. Pay the inspector. That's what we pay him for. If this deal isn't approved by Monday, you're done. He ends the call with a sharp tap and finally looks up. His eyes land on Rachel and pause. His expression shifts, subtle but unmistakable. Disgust flickers across his face, quick and unguarded. Can I help you? He asks. Rachel meets his gaze calmly. Derek leans back in his chair, scanning her openly now. The cleaning staff usually waits until the lounge clears out before they start. A couple of people nearby glance over. Someone smirks. Someone else pretends not to hear. I'm not cleaning staff, Rachel says. Derek laughs. It's a harsh sound, loud, meant to draw attention. Sure you are, or you're lost. Either way, this isn't your space. I'm flying first class, Rachel replies, just like you. Derek's laughter stops abruptly. His eyes narrow. First class, he repeats, tasting the words like something spoiled. That's funny. He leans forward, elbows on knees, lowering his voice just enough to make it feel intimate. Affirmative action really has ruined everything, hasn't it? Rachel feels the familiar burn in her chest, the slow, controlled ignition. She has felt it in rooms far more dangerous than this. She does not flinch. Be careful, she says. Turbulence tends to hit without warning. Derek snorts and waves her off, already done with her. He signals a server, another scotch, and maybe some air freshener. It smells like poverty over here. Rachel doesn't move. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out her phone. Her fingers move quickly, efficiently. A secure messaging app, a single contact. Michael. Draft the termination paperwork. Trigger the loyalty clause review. And get me the full manifest for flight 402. The reply comes almost instantly. On it. Everything okay? Rachel looks at Derek, now berating the server for too much ice. Not yet, she types back. But it will be. Boarding is announced 10 minutes later. Chaos follows. Rolling bags collide. Voices rise. Status lanes dissolve into a single, impatient mass. When Rachel reaches the jet bridge, a hand lands on her shoulder. Firm, uninvited. Hold up. She turns. The flight attendant blocking the door has blonde hair sprayed into a stiff bob and a smile that never reaches her eyes. Her name tag reads Linda Parker. Zone 1 only, Linda says. Economy boards later. Rachel raises her phone. I'm Zone 1. Seat 1F. Linda squints at the screen, then looks Rachel up and down, lingering on the sneakers. The hoodie. I need to see your ID. Rachel's jaw tightens. You didn't ask the man in front of me for his. Linda doesn't hesitate. He's a Platinum Legacy member. I know who he is. I don't know you. Rachel hands over her driver's license. Linda studies it for too long, bending it slightly, as if testing its legitimacy. She finally shoves it back. Fine. Go. But put your bag overhead immediately. We don't want clutter in first class. Rachel steps onto the aircraft. The cabin is dated but spacious. Cream leather, faux wood, the soft clink of glassware. She finds her seat. Someone else is in it. A young woman with pink hair lounges comfortably in seat 1F, scrolling on her tablet. Derek Lawson sits beside her in 1E, grinning. Rachel stops. Excuse me, she says. You're in my seat. The woman looks up, chewing gum. Derek recognizes Rachel and laughs. Oh, God. You again. Go find somewhere else. Rachel checks her boarding pass. I have seat 1F. You're in 1E. She's in an economy seat. Derek waves a dismissive hand. She's with me. We wanted to sit together. You can take her seat. Somewhere in the back. It's all the same, right? Rachel looks at the boarding pass sticking out of the woman's purse. 24B economy. I paid full fare for first class, Rachel says. I'm not trading it for a middle seat. Derek leans back, amused. Listen, honey. I'm Derek Lawson. I spend more on champagne in a month than you make in a year. She stays. You move. Rachel presses the call button. Linda appears instantly, smile wide for Derek, cold for Rachel. This woman is harassing us, Derek says smoothly. Linda turns on Rachel. Ma'am, you're causing a disturbance. Rachel's voice stays level. I want my seat. Linda sighs theatrically. Couples sit together. It's standard. Mr. Lawson is a valued guest. Rachel meets her eyes. Check the manifest. Linda's smile disappears. Are you refusing crew instructions? The cabin holds its breath. Rachel understands then, not just what is happening to her, but what happens to people every day who don't have the luxury of choice. She makes her decision. Fine, she says. I'll take 24B. Derek claps mockingly. Linda smirks. Rachel walks down the aisle. The curtain closes behind her. In her pocket, her phone vibrates. Change of plans, she types. Delay the announcement. I need to make some changes first. The storm outside intensifies, and the real turbulence is just beginning. Seat 24B is exactly where the noise lives. The baby 2 seats over has been crying since before pushback, a thin, relentless sound that drills into the skull. The man to Rachel's left eats a tuna sandwich slowly, methodically, the smell blooming with every chew. The tray table in front of her sticks halfway down, jerks, then locks at a crooked angle. Rachel sits anyway. She buckles her seatbelt. Click. Tight. Final. Her back presses against fabric that feels damp with the memory of other bodies. The window is gone. In its place, a scuffed plastic wall and a safety card jammed into the seat pocket like an afterthought. Overhead, someone slams a bin shut too hard. The plane shudders. Up front, first class is still laughing. Rachel can hear it. The clink of glass, the low murmur of men who have never had to raise their voices to be obeyed. Somewhere beyond the curtain, Derek Lawson's voice cuts through, confident and pleased with itself. She closes her eyes. Not to escape. To focus. She feels the vibration of the engines through the floor, a steady building force. She feels the ache in her shoulders, the dull throb behind her eyes. She counts her breaths. In, out, in, out. The plane taxis, stops, lurches forward again. As it lifts off, the pressure pushes her back into the seat. The city drops away beneath them, lights scattering like broken glass. The storm follows them up, turbulence rattling the cabin almost immediately. The baby screams louder. Someone swears under their breath. Rachel opens her eyes and pulls out her phone. The secure app opens without delay. Her thumbs move quickly. Initiate internal review on Flight 402. Full crew. Ground staff included. Preserve all communications. Do not notify yet. A pause. Then a reply. Understood. Anything else? Rachel stares at the message for a moment. She thinks of Linda's face, the smile that vanished the instant Derek spoke. The way Linda leaned in, close enough to smell Rachel's skin, to assert control. Yes, Rachel types. Flag any prior complaints involving Linda Parker. All of them. Even the ones marked resolved. Another pause. Longer this time. Already seeing patterns. Rachel locks her phone and slides it back into her pocket. The seatbelt sign stays on longer than usual. Turbulence tosses the cabin, hard enough to draw gasps. Somewhere, a glass breaks. Applause ripples nervously when the shaking eases. An hour passes. Then another. Rachel's mouth is dry now. Her throat burns. She presses the call button above her head. The light flicks on. Stays on. Nothing. She waits. 5 minutes. 10. The light remains. No one comes. She presses it again. Still nothing. Up front, she can hear the cadence of service. Another drink, sir? Of course. Laughter follows. Easy. Familiar. Rachel unbuckles her seatbelt and stands. The plane is stable now. The aisle sways gently as she moves forward. Careful. Steady. Heads turn as she passes. Some curious. Some irritated. One woman pulls her purse closer. At the galley, Linda stands with a younger flight attendant, Kevin. Early 20s. Nervous energy. He laughs too loudly at something Linda says. I should have had security drag her off, Linda is saying. She looked like she came straight from a shelter. Kevin snorts. Did you see those sneakers? Rachel steps into the light of the galley. Excuse me, she says. May I have some water? Linda jumps slightly, then recovers fast. Her eyes harden. We're busy. I've been waiting, Rachel says. I just need water. Linda glances at Kevin, then back at Rachel. Her mouth curves, not quite a smile. She reaches down, grabs a half-empty plastic cup from the counter. It still has lipstick on the rim. She turns and fills it from the sink. The water runs cloudy for a second, then clears. She doesn't wait for it to cool. She slams the cup onto a napkin and pushes it toward Rachel. Here, she says. Now go sit down before I write you up again for ignoring crew instructions. Rachel looks at the cup. The water trembles slightly from the engine vibration. She looks back at Linda. Thank you, Rachel says. You've been very clear. Linda scoffs and waves her away. Move. Rachel turns and walks back to her seat. She does not drink the water. She places the cup on the tray table, crooked and useless, and stares at it as the plane hits another pocket of turbulence. The water sloshes, but does not spill. She thinks of the penthouse waiting for her in Manhattan. The quiet, the glass walls. The city stretched out beneath her feet, like a map she helped draw. She thinks of the aircraft itself, the financing structure, the debt Horizon Air never thought anyone would look closely enough to understand. She thinks of the board meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning, the one no one knows she will be attending in person. Rachel closes her eyes again. They have no idea who is sitting in 24B. They have no idea that the woman they joked about owns the mortgage on the metal tube carrying them through the sky. They have no idea how quickly things can change when the wrong person is underestimated. The rest of the flight passes in fragments, a nap that never fully comes. More turbulence. The baby finally quiets, exhausted. The man finishes his sandwich and falls asleep, mouth open. Rachel's phone vibrates twice more. Updates, timelines, confirmation. By the time the descent begins, she has already written the memo in her head. The cabin lights dim. Outside, clouds thicken, grey and heavy. The plane bucks hard enough to draw nervous laughter. Rachel grips the armrests, knuckles whitening. Not from fear, from restraint. When the wheels slam onto the runway at JFK, the impact is jarring. The cabin exhales as one. Applause breaks out in economy. Up front, the champagne keeps flowing. The seatbelt sign dings off. The curtain snaps shut immediately, sharp and decisive, sealing first class away like a private club closing its doors. Rachel waits. She watches through the small gap as Derek stands, stretches, complains loudly about the delay. He pulls down his expensive carry-on, then Madison's bag, handing it to her with an indulgent smile. They are the first off the plane. Minutes pass. 10. Then 15. Finally, economy begins to move. Slowly. Row by row. Rachel stands when it's her turn. She steps into the aisle and waits again, patient to the end. At the front, Linda stands near the cockpit door, smiling for the departing passengers. Thanks for flying Horizon, she chirps. Bye-bye. When Rachel approaches, the smile drops instantly. Took you long enough, Linda snaps. Cleaning crew's waiting. Rachel stops directly in front of her. The noise of the jet bridge hums behind them. People bunch up, annoyed. Rachel does not move. What's your full name? She asks. Linda blinks. Excuse me? Your full name, Rachel repeats, and your employee identification number. Linda laughs, sharp and dismissive. She leans closer, perfume heavy in the narrow space. Oh, honey, she says. No one cares about a complaint from someone in Seat 24B. You were disruptive. You refused instructions. If you file anything, I'll file a counter-report. Guess who the airline believes? Rachel holds her gaze. You're probably right. Linda's smile widens. But they will believe the data, Rachel continues quietly. And they will believe the timeline. Linda frowns. What are you talking about? Rachel reaches into her pocket. Slowly. Deliberately. Kevin stiffens. She's reaching for something. Linda grabs Rachel's wrist. What did you take? Show me. Rachel pulls her hand free. Calm. Controlled. I was checking the time, she says. Touching a passenger is a felony. Linda steps back, flustered. Just go. Get off my plane. Rachel steps onto the jet bridge. The cool New York air hits her face. She inhales deeply. She does not turn toward baggage claim. She turns left, toward a nondescript security door. She taps her phone against the scanner. Green light. The door opens. On the other side, a black SUV waits, engine running. The storm is breaking, and Rachel Monroe is done waiting. The black SUV cuts across the restricted tarmac, like it owns the ground beneath it. Rain beads on the hood, swept away by speed and certainty. Inside, the cabin smells of clean leather and quiet authority. Rachel sits in the back seat, posture upright, hands folded loosely in her lap. The hoodie is still on. The sneakers are still on her feet. Nothing about her appearance has changed. Everything else has. Welcome to New York, Ms. Monroe, the driver says, eyes forward, voice respectful. Mr. Grant asked me to bring you straight to headquarters. The board is assembled. Good, Rachel replies. Take me to the tower. The SUV accelerates, weaving past baggage carts and fuel trucks, past workers who don't look up, who don't need to. Ahead, the glass monolith of Horizon Air's global headquarters rises out of the mist, lights glowing through thinning clouds. A shaft of late-afternoon sun breaks through, striking the upper floors like a spotlight. Inside the lobby, marble stretches beetled and cold, polished to a mirror finish. Air conditioning hums aggressively. A massive stylized globe hangs from the ceiling, surrounded by model aircraft frozen mid-flight. The space is designed to intimidate, to remind you who belongs. Rachel steps through the revolving doors. Her sneakers squeak softly against the marble. The sound feels loud in the cavernous quiet. Behind the reception desk stand two women, nearly identical in posture and expression. Same tight smiles, Same eyes trained to scan, categorize, dismiss. One of them straightens immediately. "Ma'am," she calls out, already moving. Her nameplate reads, Ashley Reed. Early 30s. Perfect hair. Voice sharpened by authority she hasn't earned yet. "You can't be here." Rachel keeps walking. Ashley steps around the desk, intercepting her path to the executive elevators. "Excuse me," she says, louder now. "This area is restricted." "I have a meeting," Rachel says calmly. Ashley looks her up and down. Hoodie, sneakers, empty hands. No badge, no assistant trailing behind. "With who?" Ashley asks, scoffing. "Arthur Keller," Rachel replies. "Boardroom, eh?" Ashley laughs. It's quick, reflexive, practiced. "That's funny." Rachel stops. She turns fully now, meeting Ashley's eyes. "Mr. Keller is in a closed board session," Ashley says. "He's not meeting with deliveries." "I'm not delivering anything," Rachel says. Ashley's smile tightens. "Then you're trespassing." She reaches for the phone on the desk. "Security to the lobby. We have an intruder." Rachel doesn't move. "You might want to hold that call," she says quietly. Ashley hesitates, phone halfway to her ear. "And why would I do that?" "Because you're about to be very embarrassed." The elevator at the far end of the lobby dings. Doors slide open. 2 men in dark suits step out first. Security. Then a third figure follows. Silver hair, wireframe glasses. Calm, unhurried stride. Michael Grant. He spots Rachel immediately. His pace quickens. "Ms. Monroe," he says, voice carrying across the lobby. "Apologies for the delay. The board's been waiting." Ashley freezes. "Mr. Grant," she stammers. "You know this person?" Michael turns slowly, fixing her with a look that could strip paint. "This person, Ashley, is Rachel Monroe." He pauses just long enough for the name to land. "Chief Executive Officer of Monroe Logistics Group," he continues, "and as of 9 o'clock this morning, the majority owner and chairwoman of Horizon Air." The color drains from Ashley's face. Her mouth opens, closes, opens again. No sound comes out. Rachel steps past her without breaking stride. "Don't worry," Rachel says softly over her shoulder. "We'll discuss your performance review later." The elevator doors close behind them, sealing Ashley's reflection in the polished steel, frozen in disbelief. As the elevator shoots upward, Michael glances sideways. "Rough flight?" Rachel exhales. The culture here is worse than the balance sheet. Michael nods grimly. Arthur and the board know the company was sold. They don't know to whom. "They're expecting a suit," Rachel says. "Let's not disappoint them." The elevator opens onto the top floor. Plush carpet muffles their footsteps. The hallway is silent, heavy with anticipation. At the end, double mahogany doors stand closed. Inside, 12 men sit around a long table made of reclaimed aircraft aluminum. Ties loosened, jackets draped over chairbacks, faces tight with anxiety. Arthur Keller paces at the head of the table, running a hand through thinning hair. "They're late," he mutters. arrogant already. The doors open. Every head turns. Michael steps aside, allowing Rachel to enter first. The room goes still. Arthur stares. His brain stalls, visibly recalibrating. Hoodie, sneakers, a woman. Not the grey-haired raider he had imagined. Michael breaks the silence. "Gentlemen, may I present Rachel Monroe, chairwoman of Horizon Air." Arthur's face drains of blood. "This," he says weakly, gesturing. "This is the buyer." Rachel walks to the head of the table. Arthur scrambles out of her way. She does not sit immediately. She places her hands flat on the table, leaning forward, eyes sweeping the room. "You look surprised," she says. Arthur swallows. "We were expecting someone who looks like you," Rachel finishes. Silence. "Sit down, Arthur," she says. He does. Rachel finally takes the chair. "I flew in on Flight 402 today," she begins. "Incognito. I wanted to see how this airline treats people when no one important is watching." A few board members exchange nervous glances. "And what did you find?" one asks. Rachel's eyes harden. "I found a company rotting from the inside." She taps her phone. The screen behind them lights up, displaying a passenger manifest. "I was profiled by your ground staff," she continues, "displaced from a paid first-class seat for the convenience of a donor's son. Denied basic service. Threatened. Touched. All while your employees believed they were protected." Arthur looks sick. "The Lawson family are major investors." "Not anymore," Michael says smoothly. "Morality clause invoked." Rachel leans back. "Now for the real issue." She stands. "Arthur, you allowed this culture to fester. You rewarded entitlement and punished dignity. You valued optics over ethics." Arthur opens his mouth. Rachel slides a document down the table. It stops perfectly in front of him. "Your resignation," she says. "Sign it." Arthur stares at the paper. "You don't have 6 months," Rachel adds. "You don't have 6 minutes." Outside, the storm finally clears. Inside, Horizon Air begins to fall apart. Brenda Parker is still smiling when she steps off the jet bridge. Her lipstick is fresh, her uniform pressed. 20 years of seniority sit on her shoulders like armor. She believes the worst part of the day is already over. The troublesome passenger is gone. Order restored. Hierarchy preserved. Kevin trails behind her, quieter now, eyes darting. The terminal feels different. Too still. Too many uniforms clustered near the gate. 2 TSA officers stand stiffly by the podium. A man in a dark suit waits just beyond the stanchions, tablet tucked under his arm, expression neutral and sharp. "Linda Parker?" he asks. The smile stays on her face. "That's me. If this is about the woman in economy, I've already written my report." The man doesn't return the smile. "I'm from Human Resources Crisis Management." The words land heavy. "I'm going to need your company badge and your airport clearance." Linda blinks. Once. Twice. "Excuse me?" "Effective immediately," he continues, voice flat. "Practiced. Your employment with Horizon Air has been terminated." The terminal noise seems to drop away, like someone turned down the volume on the world. Linda lets out a short laugh, sharp and disbelieving. "This is a mistake," she says. "I've been with this airline for 20 years. I have union protections." The man taps his tablet. "Termination is for gross misconduct, discrimination, and violation of federal transport contracts." This order comes directly from the chairwoman's office. Linda's stomach drops. Chairwoman? Behind her, Kevin takes a step back, instinctive, as if distance might save him. "You removed the majority owner of this airline from her seat," the HR manager says quietly. "You denied her service. You threatened her with arrest." Linda's face drains of color. The memory hits her all at once. The hoodie, the calm eyes, the way the woman spoke, controlled, unbothered. "No," Linda whispers. "That's not possible. She was in economy." "Badge," the man says, holding out his hand. Her fingers shake as she unclips it. It feels like tearing off a limb. "And you," the man adds, turning to Kevin. "Kevin O'Connell. Badge." Kevin's eyes widen. "Me? I didn't do anything." "Complicity is misconduct," the man replies. "You laughed. You watched. You said nothing." Kevin hands it over, face grey. 2 TSA officers step forward. "Ma'am, sir, this way." They are escorted through the terminal, past passengers who recognize Linda now, whispering, phones lifting. Someone laughs. Someone says, "Isn't that the flight attendant?" Linda keeps her head down. The Queen has been dethroned. Across the terminal, Derek Lawson is discovering that the world no longer answers his name. He stands at the luxury car rental counter, fingers drumming against the glass. "I reserved the Aston Martin," he snaps. 3 weeks ago." The clerk swallows. "I see the reservation, sir, but there's a corporate hold." "A hold?" Derek laughs. "Override it." "I can't." "Fine. Give me the S-Class." The clerk swipes Derek's black metal card. The machine buzzes. Declined. Derek's smile falters. "Try it again." "Declined. Uzu. Another terminal. Declined. Report stolen." The clerk's eyes flick up. "Sir, I'm supposed to confiscate this." Derek snatches the card back. "Touch it, and I'll end you." He pulls out another card. Declined. Another. Declined. His phone buzzes. Madison looks up from her selfies. "Babe, my Uber won't work. It says payment invalid." Derek's chest tightens. He dials his father. Straight to voicemail. He dials his banker. "Your accounts have been frozen," the banker says, voice cold. "Federal order. Triggered by VB Logistics." What the hell is VB Logistics? The new owners of Horizon Air. The line goes dead. 2 police officers step up behind Derek. "Sir, we received a report of a disturbance." Derek looks around. Phones are out. Eyes are watching. For the first time in his life, the room does not bend for him. On the other side of the terminal, Rachel Munro walks through a restricted corridor, flanked by security. The noise fades behind her. Her phone buzzes with updates. Linda terminated. Kevin terminated. Lawson accounts frozen. CEO resigned. She exhales At headquarters, the boardroom is silent now. Arthur Keller signs his resignation with a hand that shakes. Rachel watches without expression. "Effective immediately," she says, "we are instituting a dignity standard. Every passenger is a guest. Every employee is accountable." No one argues. By evening, the video hits the internet. A 19-year-old in seat 2A had filmed everything. Linda's sneer, Derek's laugh, Rachel walking away without a word. It spreads fast. Millions of views, hashtags, outrage. But the story shifts when the press release drops. Horizon Air sold. New chairwoman. Immediate restructuring. Rachel stands at a podium 2 days later, navy suit now, posture unchanged. For too long, she says, air travel has been a class system designed to humiliate the many to pamper the few. That ends now. Applause fills the hangar. Weeks later, Linda sits in a cramped office at a temp agency, hands folded, eyes hollow. "We can't place you in customer-facing roles," the agent says gently. "Given the publicity." She slides a paper across the desk. Night shift, subway cleaning, minimum wage. Linda stares at it. The work she once sneered at. The people she once dismissed. "I'll take it," she whispers. Across the river, Derek rides a public bus, head down, court-ordered community service vest folded in his lap. Someone recognizes him. "Hey, aren't you the first-class guy?" Derek turns away, staring out the window as rain streaks the glass. 6 months later, Rachel boards another flight. New livery, new crew. A young flight attendant smiles. "Welcome aboard, Ms. Monroe. Right this way." Rachel pauses to help an elderly woman lift her bag. "Do you work for the airline?" the woman asks. Rachel smiles softly. "Yes," she says. "I do." The engines roar, the horizon clears, and no one dares to tell her where she belongs. The conference room is empty when Rachel Monroe returns that night. The board has gone. The lawyers have gone. The air still smells faintly of coffee and adrenaline, like a room that knows something irreversible has happened inside it. The city glows beyond the glass walls, Manhattan stretched out in sharp lines and moving lights, indifferent and eternal. Rachel stands alone at the window. Below her, traffic crawls. Lives continue. People eat dinner, argue, laugh, scroll, sleep. None of them know how close this company came to vanishing. None of them know how casually cruelty had been normalized inside these walls. She loosens her shoulders for the first time all day. Michael Grant enters quietly, closing the door behind him. Press is asking for a sit-down tomorrow morning. Every outlet. "They'll get a statement," Rachel says. "Not a spectacle." "They're framing you as an undercover boss," Michael says. "People love it." Rachel turns from the window. This wasn't theater. This was diagnosis, Michael nods. HR has flagged 7 more crew members with similar complaint patterns. Ground staff, too. Rachel doesn't look surprised. Start with training suspensions, then terminations where warranted. No grandfathering. No exceptions. Michael hesitates. There will be backlash. There always is, Rachel says. That's how you know you're changing something real. He studies her for a moment. Most people would have revealed themselves on the plane. Rachel's gaze hardens slightly. Most people haven't spent a lifetime being underestimated. I needed them to show me who they were when they thought there were no consequences. Michael nods once. Understood. After he leaves, Rachel sits at the long table and finally opens her laptop. She scrolls through internal reports, decades of language softened, incidents minimized, patterns buried under euphemisms like firm and efficient and strong presence. She closes the file. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. Saw the video. Thank you. Rachel stares at the message for a long moment. She types back. You deserved better long before this. The reply comes almost immediately. We all did. She powers down the laptop. The next morning, the headquarters lobby is unrecognizable. Security stands straighter. Receptionists smile carefully, eyes alert. Posters have gone up overnight. New language, new tone. Dignity standard. Every passenger, every time. Rachel walks through without stopping. At 10 sharp, she stands behind the podium in the hangar. Cameras hum. Lights glare. The aircraft behind her gleams, old logo stripped away, bare metal reflecting the crowd. She doesn't raise her voice. Accountability is not punishment, she says. It is care for the system. When you tolerate small cruelty, it grows. When you excuse it, it spreads. A reporter asks about Linda Parker. Rachel meets his eyes. She is no longer employed here. Another asks about Derek Lawson. Private citizen, Rachel replies. No comment. The questions come faster. She answers only what matters. By noon, the stock has climbed. Analysts scramble to rewrite narratives. A failing airline becomes a case study in ethical turnaround. That afternoon, Rachel walks the terminal unannounced. She watches interactions. A gate agent kneels to speak to a nervous child. A flight attendant patiently helps an elderly man with a cane. Not perfect. Better. At a coffee stand, a woman hesitates before ordering, counting bills. The cashier waits. No sigh, no eye roll. Rachel watches the exchange like a scientist observing early signs of recovery. She boards her car without ceremony. Across the city, Linda Parker finishes her first night shift underground. The subway tunnel is loud and wet, the air thick with disinfectant and grit. Her back aches. Her hands are raw. The fluorescent lights flicker, unkind and constant. She scrubs gum from tile and thinks of the lounge, the leather chairs, the way she used to stand taller than passengers simply by wearing a uniform. No one looks at her now. At dawn, she rides the train home, head bowed. No one recognizes her. For the first time, that hurts more than being seen. Derek Lawson's world has shrunk too. Community service vest, bright against grey sidewalks. He bends to pick up trash along the highway. Cars roar past, anonymous, fast. A man slows down just enough to shout, "Hey, first class!" Derek doesn't look up. He hasn't slept well in weeks. His phone is quiet. His name doesn't open doors anymore. For the first time, silence follows him everywhere. 6 months pass. The airline is different now. Not perfect. Intentional. Rachel flies again. London this time. New aircraft. New crew. The cabin smells of fresh upholstery and something lighter, less guarded. At the door, a young flight attendant smiles, genuine and unforced. "Welcome aboard, Miss Monroe." Rachel nods and steps inside. She settles into seat 1A. The window curves wide, promising sky. She buckles in, exhales. A few rows back, an elderly woman struggles with an overhead bag. No one notices at first. Rachel does. She unbuckles, stands, and walks back. "Let me," she says, lifting the bag easily. The woman beams. "Oh, thank you, dear. Do you work for the airline?" Rachel smiles. She thinks of boardrooms and balance sheets, of tunnels and buses, of a seat called 24B. "Yes," she says. In a way. She returns to her seat as the engines spool up. Outside, the runway stretches forward, clear, open. This time, no one questions where she belongs. The email arrives just after midnight. Rachel Monroe reads it alone in her apartment. City lights breathing through the glass like a living thing. The subject line is simple. Internal Audit Summary. She opens it without hesitation. Names scroll past, dates, patterns, familiar language dressed up as policy. Efficient, firm. No issues found. She exhales through her nose, slow and controlled, the way she does when she's about to cut something out at the root. She scrolls further. A highlighted section stops her. Customer relations escalations, redacted comments, partial transcripts. A phrase repeats itself across years and departments, spoken by different mouths with the same certainty. Doesn't look like a first-class passenger. Rachel closes her laptop. The room is silent except for the distant sirens, the city reminding her that consequences ripple far beyond boardrooms. She stands, barefoot on cool concrete, and walks to the window. Below, a delivery truck double parks. A woman argues with a cab driver. Life unfolds without waiting for permission. She thinks of the man who sent her the thank you text, the stranger who recognized her quiet endurance as something more than compliance. She thinks of how many never get to send that message. The next morning, she calls a meeting no one expects. Not the board, not legal. Operations, supervisors, trainers, middle managers. The people who actually shape behavior when no one is watching. They gather in a plain conference room. No polished table. No panoramic view. Just fluorescent lights and coffee gone lukewarm. Rachel stands at the front. No podium. No slides. "I'm not here to talk about branding," she says. "I'm here to talk about reflex." A few people shift in their seats. When a passenger walks toward you, she continues. "What do you see first?" Silence. "Status?" she asks. "Risk? Inconvenience?" A man in the second row clears his throat. "Training says to assess behavior." Rachel nods. And yet behavior wasn't what got me removed from my seat. No one speaks. "Reflex is what you do before your values catch up," Rachel says. "And right now, our reflex is broken." She lets that sit. "We're not fixing this with slogans," she continues. "We're fixing it with consequences and practice. Every interaction is recorded. Every complaint is reviewed by an independent team. Patterns matter. Silence counts as agreement. A woman near the back raises her hand. What about false complaints? Rachel meets her eyes. What about real ones that were ignored? The room stills. We don't get to choose which discomfort we take seriously, Rachel says, only whether we're brave enough to face it. By the end of the meeting, some faces are pale, others look relieved, a few look angry. Rachel notes them all. Change always tells on itself. Across the city, Linda Parker sits at a folding table in her kitchen, counting out cash for groceries. Her hands smell faintly of bleach, no matter how much she washes them. She stares at the numbers, then at the sink, then at nothing at all. At the store, a young cashier asks if she needs help finding anything. The tone is neutral, polite. Linda flinches anyway. No, she says quickly. I'm fine. She stands in line, waiting, watching. For the first time, she notices how long it takes, how small the indignities are, how heavy they become when stacked. She thinks of the way she used to snap her fingers. Across the river, Derek Lawson sits in a cramped office across from a public defender who looks tired and unimpressed. You don't have leverage, the attorney says. Your name doesn't scare anyone anymore. Derek stares at the wall. He nods once. On the news that night, a panel debates whether Rachel Monroe went too far. One man calls it overcorrection. Another calls it necessary. A third says nothing, watching the footage again of a woman walking calmly away from a first-class seat she paid for. Rachel watches from her couch, legs tucked beneath her, hoodie back on out of habit. Her phone buzzes. It's a message from a flight attendant she doesn't recognize. I almost quit last year. Thank you for staying. Rachel types back. Thank you for staying, too. Weeks pass. The noise fades. The work doesn't. Rachel flies often now, always unannounced. Different routes, different crews. She watches. She listens. She waits. On a flight to Denver, a gate agent catches herself mid-sentence, recalibrates, softens. Rachel sees it, notes it. On a late-night flight to Seattle, a man in a wrinkled jacket is offered water before he asks. Rachel sees that. 2. Not everything changes, but enough does. One evening, as she walks through a terminal, a woman stops her. Mid-50s, tired eyes, confident stance. You don't know me, the woman says, but I was on a flight years ago. They moved me because someone else wanted my seat. Rachel listens. I didn't say anything, the woman continues. I thought that was just how it was. She swallows. It mattered. What you did. Rachel nods. It still does. The woman smiles once and walks away. That night, Rachel writes a note to herself and pins it above her desk. Power is what you do when no one can stop you. The next morning, Horizon Air releases its first quarterly report under new leadership. The numbers are solid, not miraculous, honest. The headline reads something different. Culture shift underway. Rachel reads it twice, then once more. She closes the file and heads out. At the airport, she pauses before boarding, watches a mother tie her child's shoe, watches a man struggle with a heavy bag, until another passenger steps in without being asked. Small things, ordinary things, the kind that tell the truth. Rachel steps onto the plane. The door closes behind her. And somewhere, in the quiet between announcements, the system learns how to breathe differently. The letter arrives without a return address. It's handwritten, thick paper, careful strokes. Rachel Monroe notices that before she reads a single word. She turns it over once, then opens it slowly, as if speed might cheapen what's inside. I was on flight 402, row 25. I watched everything. Rachel sits at her kitchen table, morning light spilling across the surface, coffee untouched beside her. I didn't say anything. I told myself it wasn't my place. I told myself you didn't need help. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Rachel exhales, long and quiet. My daughter starts college next year. She wants to work in aviation. I almost told her not to. After what I saw, I didn't. Thank you for giving me something better to tell her. Rachel folds the letter carefully and sets it aside. The city outside is already awake. Horns, footsteps, a siren somewhere distant. She finishes her coffee and checks her calendar. Back-to-back meetings, compliance review, training overhaul, a call with regulators who suddenly want to be seen asking the right questions. Power draws attention. So does accountability. At headquarters, the mood is different now. Not lighter, sharper. People speak more carefully, but also more honestly. Whispers have shifted from who to trust to who is watching. Rachel walks the floors unannounced. She pauses near a gate podium as a gate agent explains a delay to a crowd that is growing restless. The agent's voice stays even, apologetic without groveling. A man raises his voice. The agent listens, doesn't interrupt, doesn't dismiss. Rachel watches the exchange end without escalation. In a break room, two flight attendants talk in low voices. One looks nervous, the other nods, serious. They really fired her, the nervous one says. They should have, the other replies. We've all seen it. Rachel keeps walking. In a conference room, training videos play on loop. Real scenarios, real complaints, real consequences. No actors, no scripts softened for comfort. A manager clears his throat as Rachel enters. We're getting pushback. From whom? Rachel asks. People who liked the old way. Rachel nods. Then we're doing it right. Across town, Linda Parker finishes her shift as the sun rises. The subway platform is slick with water and grime. She removes her gloves slowly, fingers stiff, knuckles cracked. Her reflection stares back at her from the darkened window of a stopped train. She hardly recognizes herself. A woman beside her struggles with a trash bag. It rips. Garbage spills across the platform. Linda hesitates, then kneels down, helping gather what she can. Thanks, the woman mutters, surprised. Linda nods, unable to meet her eyes. It's the smallest thing she's done all day. It feels heavier than anything else. Derek Lawson's reckoning continues in quieter ways. The court orders counseling, financial disclosures, meetings where no one flatters him, no one laughs at his jokes. He sits in folding chairs, surrounded by people who have nothing to lose by telling him the truth. "You don't get to opt out of the system," a counselor tells him. "You benefited from it. Now you get to examine it." Derek says nothing. He hasn't found the words yet. Back in the skies, Horizon Air's changes ripple outward. A flight to Phoenix diverts for weather. Passengers are angry, tired, hungry. A flight attendant stands in the aisle, answering the same questions over and over, voice steady. A man snaps. She doesn't. Another passenger speaks up. She's doing her best. Rachel hears about it later. The incident doesn't trend. No one films it. That's how she knows it matters. She flies again. And again. Sometimes first class. Sometimes not. Always watching. On a red eye to Boston, a gate agent recognizes her. Freezes. Rachel smiles, small and reassuring. "Just do your job," Rachel says. "I'm just another passenger." The agent nods, shoulders relaxing. On a flight to Dallas, turbulence hits hard. The cabin jolts. A child cries. A flight attendant crouches, eye level, voice calm. Rachel feels something loosen in her chest. This is what it's supposed to look like. One afternoon, Rachel receives an invitation she didn't expect. A closed-door round table. Industry leaders, regulators, advocacy groups, no cameras. They sit in a circle, no hierarchy, no podium. A man across from her speaks first. "You embarrassed an entire sector." Rachel doesn't flinch. I held up a mirror. A woman beside him nods. "We've been avoiding this conversation for decades." Another voice cuts in. "You're setting a dangerous precedent." Rachel meets his eyes. So was silence. The room goes quiet. By the end of the session, nothing is resolved. But something has shifted. Names are exchanged. Follow-ups scheduled. The door cracks open. That night, Rachel walks home instead of taking the car. The city hums around her. She passes a bus stop where a man in a wrinkled jacket waits, hands shoved deep in his pockets. He looks up, recognition flickering, then doubt. "Excuse me," he says. "Were you—" Rachel pauses. "Yes." He nods, unsure what to say. "Thanks." "For what?" "For making it louder." Rachel smiles faintly and keeps walking. At home, she takes off her shoes and sits on the floor, back against the couch. The day settles into her bones. Exhaustion comes, heavy but clean. She thinks of seat 24B, of the quiet choice to wait, of the line between patience and permission. She thinks of the people who never get to reveal themselves. Rachel closes her eyes. Tomorrow, the work continues. But tonight, for the first time in a long while, she allows herself to rest. Knowing the system she challenged is no longer untouched. It has been seen, and it knows it. The call comes at 5:40 in the morning. Rachel Monroe answers it without checking the number. She is already awake, sitting at the edge of her bed, city still half dark beyond the windows. "There's been an incident," Michael Grant says. His voice is steady, but there is a weight beneath it. "Denver, Gate C16. Rachel closes her eyes once. What kind? Passenger removal escalation. Filmed. Different airline. But Horizon staff were involved on a code share. Rachel stands. The floor is cold under her feet. Was anyone hurt? No, but it's close, and the language is familiar. Rachel exhales slowly. Send me everything. By 6:15, the footage is on her tablet, grainy at first, then clearer. A man in a worn jacket, mid-50s, grey at the temples, calm voice. A gate agent insisting he step aside. Another passenger claiming priority. The words slide into place like a puzzle she's already assembled once. He doesn't look like first class. Rachel watches the man's face as the phrase lands, the way his mouth tightens, the way his shoulders remain level, as if dignity is something he refuses to drop even when invited. She pauses the video. This is why, she says. Michael doesn't need to ask what she means. By 9, Rachel is on a plane again. No press, no announcement. Just another boarding pass, another terminal, another test. Denver is cold and bright. The mountains sit sharp against the sky, indifferent to human rules. At the gate, staff straighten when they see her, recognition spreading like electricity. Rachel ignores it. She stands near the wall, watching the next boarding cycle begin. A woman argues about an upgrade. Loud. Insistent. The agent listens, then shakes her head gently. The woman scoffs, turns to the man behind her, rolling her eyes. Some people just don't know their place, she mutters. The man behind her doesn't respond. He looks tired. Rachel notices his hands. Rough. Cracked. The agent finishes boarding. No incident. Rachel releases a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Later, in a small conference room near the runway, Rachel sits across from supervisors and union representatives. No cameras, no script. This isn't about perfection, Rachel says. It's about interruption. Catching the moment before harm becomes habit. A supervisor frowns. You're asking people to unlearn instincts. Yes, Rachel replies, because those instincts were taught. Silence follows. Not resistance. Processing. In Queens, Linda Parker scrubs the last platform of her shift. The night supervisor nods once and walks on. No comment. No praise. Just acknowledgement. On her way home, she stops at a diner. She hasn't done that in years. She orders coffee and eggs. The waitress calls her honey without sarcasm. Linda leaves a tip larger than she should. Derek Lawson sits in a courtroom that smells like old wood and stale air. His attorney speaks. He listens. When the judge looks at him, Derek looks back. For once, he doesn't argue. Across the country, the video Rachel watched at dawn begins to circulate. It doesn't explode. It simmers. People comment, share quietly. The narrative is different this time. Someone writes, "This is exactly what she was talking about." Rachel sees the comment later that night. She doesn't respond. At headquarters, the quarterly review concludes. Metrics are mixed. Complaints down. Satisfaction uneven. Training compliance up. Rachel signs off anyway. Progress is not clean, she reminds herself. It's directional. That evening, she attends a small dinner. No donors, No executives, just front-line employees, pilots, agents, cabin crew. They eat, they talk. At first, cautiously. A young man clears his throat. "I almost quit last year," he says. "I didn't think anyone would ever listen." Rachel nods. "I'm listening now." A woman beside him adds, "We're scared of messing up." Rachel meets her eyes. Fear is fine. Indifference isn't. The conversation shifts. Laughter breaks through. Not forced, real. When Rachel leaves, she walks instead of taking the car. The city is loud again. Alive. Messy. At a crosswalk, a bus passes. Inside, Derek Lawson sits by the window, vest folded beside him. He stares straight ahead. He doesn't see Rachel. She sees him. She feels nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just distance. That night, Rachel writes one more internal memo. Short. Direct. The measure of this company is not who we remove. It is who we protect when no one is watching. She sends it. Powers down her phone. At the window, she watches the city settle. Somewhere, a plane cuts across the sky, lights blinking steadily, carrying strangers who trust systems they never see. Rachel rests her forehead against the glass. The work isn't finished. It never will be. But the silence that once protected harm has been broken, and it will not return. The morning Rachel Monroe boards the flight, no one recognizes her. That is how she wants it. The terminal hums with ordinary life. Rolling bags, coffee lids snapping into place, boarding announcements layered over one another like a practiced choir. She stands in line with everyone else, hoodie replaced by a simple jacket, hair pulled back, posture relaxed but alert. This flight is short, routine. No press, no meetings waiting on the other end, just movement through a system she now understands in her bones. At the door, the flight attendant smiles, not wide, not performative, just present. "Good morning," she says. She, "Welcome aboard." Rachel nods. "Good morning." No hesitation, no scan for status, no reflexive judgment. Just two people acknowledging each other. Rachel takes her seat. Not first class today. Middle of the plane. Window. She likes the way the wing looks from here. The mechanics of lift exposed and honest. Around her, passengers settle in. A man stows a guitar carefully. A woman wipes down her tray table. A teenager texts furiously, thumbs moving like they're racing something unseen. As the plane pushes back, Rachel closes her eyes for a moment and listens. The sounds are familiar now. The click of seat belts, the low whine of engines spooling up, the subtle shift in pressure that tells you something heavier than intention is about to move. She thinks of how this all began. Not with power, with dismissal. A sentence. "You do not belong." She thinks of how many times that sentence has been spoken quietly, indirectly, dressed up as policy or tone or procedure. How many people have swallowed it and adjusted their lives accordingly. The plane lifts. The city falls away. During the flight, a small thing happens, easy to miss. A man 2 rows up fumbles his bag. It slips, almost hits the aisle. The flight attendant steps in, steady, unhurried, helps him secure it. "No problem," she says. "Happens all the time." The man exhales, relieved. "Thank you." Rachel watches the exchange and feels something settle. Not triumph, alignment. This is the work. Not grand gestures, not viral moments. This. When they land, the passengers file out row by row. No rush, no tension. Rachel waits her turn. She steps into the jet bridge, the cool air brushing her face. At the end of the corridor, she pauses for half a second and looks back. The plane sits quiet now, emptying itself of stories that will never be told. That's fine. Most progress is quiet. Outside, the sun is low, casting long shadows across the tarmac. Rachel walks on. Later that evening, she sits at her desk, reviewing the final report of the quarter. The numbers are stable. The language is cleaner. The euphemisms are gone. She signs it and closes the file. Her phone buzzes. A message from Michael. "You changed the trajectory." Rachel types back. "We changed it." She sets the phone down. On the wall across from her desk hangs a single-framed boarding pass. Flight 402. Seat 24B. Not as a trophy, as a reminder. She stands and turns off the lights. The city glows outside, indifferent and alive. Somewhere tonight, someone will board a plane carrying doubt instead of luggage. Someone will wonder if they belong. Someone will be watched, assessed, measured against standards they never agreed to, and maybe, because of what happened here, they will be treated with a little more care. Maybe they won't be moved. Maybe they won't be dismissed. Maybe the system will pause long enough to remember that dignity is not a perk. Rachel knows this story doesn't end with her. It never was about her alone. It was about what happens when power stays quiet long enough to be underestimated, then chooses accountability over applause. She locks the door behind her and walks into the night. If this story resonated with you, take a moment to like and subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments with 3 simple words: know your worth.